Hey guys, it's Brett. Thanks for dropping by my channel. So today I wanted to talk about November possibilities, winding down to this final 7 weeks till the end of the year, which is so crazy to me. And how much could you actually cram in before the end of the year? The panic is real. The panic is real. All right, first I want to talk about what I'm reading this week. Haven't started this yet, but Stay True by Hua Hsu, one of my 10 before the end. And I hope some of you are also doing a 10 before the end. I have now 7 left, but this is going to be my next book. This is nonfiction, and which is perfect for Nonfiction November. So yeah, again, haven't started, hope to start tomorrow. As soon as I finish Jessmyn Ward's Let Us Descend, which is really beautiful. I'm alternating between audio and the text for this because the text is so stunning that I find myself listening to stuff and then I get home and I have to find it and go back over it. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful writing. I'm really enjoying this. So I should finish this probably for sure tomorrow. So there's that. And the last thing, which I just started, which is one of my possibilities for November. And I will say this is a very small list. And I picked a very small group of books this year versus other times when I picked 12 and 13 books because I knew I would never probably get through all of them. And I wanted to give myself the leeway to be able to throw some things in that might come up at the last second, or to be a mood reader in my selections. Kind of. All right. So the first is Ways and Means by Daniel Lefferts, I think. I was going to make him French and be like Lefferts. This comes out February. And thank you to Overlook Press for this copy. Let me tell you a little bit about this book. Alistair McCabe comes to New York with a plan. Young, handsome, intelligent, and gay, he hopes to escape his Rust Belt poverty and give his mother a better life by pursuing a career in high finance. But by the spring of 2016, Alistair's fantasy banking job has eluded him. He's mired in student debt, and in his desperation, he's gone to work for an enigmatic billionaire whose ambitions turned out to be far darker than they appear. And now Alistair is running for his life. Propulsive, exuberant, profoundly observed, Ways and Means is an indelible, clear-eyed investigation of class and ambition, sex and art, and politics and power in the American 21st century. Debut novel sounds really interesting to me. So I literally just started it this morning and I'm only 6 pages in. The first 6 pages are really good. So I'm looking forward to this. Okay, next is Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. This comes out in January, and thank you to Knopf for this. I don't know a lot about this, I can tell you this. Cyrus Shams, the novel's hero, is a young man grappling with an inheritance of violence and loss, a mother whose plane was shot down over the skies of the Persian Gulf in a senseless accident, and a father whose life in America was circumscribed by killing chickens on a factory farm in the Midwest. Cyrus is a drunk and an addict and a poet whose obsession with martyrs leads him into the mysteries of his past, toward an uncle who rode through Iranian battlefields dressed as the angel of death to inspire and comfort the dying, and toward his mother through a painting discovered in a Brooklyn art gallery that suggests she might not have been who or what she seemed. Cyrus is guided on his journey by the voices of artists, poets, and kings, and delivered in the novel's unforgettable final pages to a world that teems with unforeseen wonders. I think you're going to see a lot about this book. I've seen this floating around on social media. They're doing a big push, like a big pre-publicity push with a lot of social media influencers. So I think it sounds really interesting. I don't know what I'm in store for, but yeah. So that's that. And again, it comes out in January. Mark Daley's Safe, a memoir of fatherhood, foster care, and the risks we take for family. Okay, this is the craziest story. So I was getting my hair cut one day, and the gentleman who cuts my hair, he was asking about the podcast, and I said, oh, it's going well, blah, blah, blah. And he said, oh, one of my other clients, he's an author. I should hook the two of you up. And I said, oh, really? Who's that? His name is Mark Daley, and he wrote this book about fostering these children. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so that's the first part of that. So he gave me his number. I reached out to the guy, hadn't heard back yet. In the meantime, we interviewed on the podcast Laura Love Harden, whose book, The Many Lives of Mama Love, is fantastic. It's her story. I think I've talked to her about this before, about kind of a soccer mom who ends up going to prison for drug possession and how she turns her life around. Her current day, she is both an editor and a book agent. And she, on the podcast, was telling us about one of her clients who had a book coming out, who is Mark Daley. So, weird kind of world how that all came together. So, Mark and I had lunch. It turns out he lives literally blocks away from me. And so this is his story about when he and his husband went through the foster adoption process and what happened. And kind of the pitfalls and the disaster that it was. It sounds really interesting to me. So I'm really excited to read this one. He's a great guy. On a side note, and now my daughter has a babysitting kid, watching his children. But so that's that. That's the very long story to say Mark Daley is safe, which this comes out in January. And thank you to Atria Books for this. All right. I know so many of you. Well, it's not so. Don't know so many of you. That's a lie. I imagine some of you read The Silent Patient, which I thought was a really good thriller. I did not read his second book called The Maidens or The Maids. I think you pronounce his name Alex Michaelides. I think I should do a just one blooper reel of me mispronouncing so many authors' names, but it could be a very long blooper reel. Anyway, this is his new book, The Fury. This is a tale of murder, or maybe that's not quite true. At its heart, it's a love story, isn't it? Elena Ferrar is a reclusive ex-movie star and one of the most famous women in the world. Every year, she invites her closest friends to escape the English weather and spend Easter on her idyllic private Greek island. I tell you this because you may think you know this story. You've probably read about it all the time. It caused a real stir in the tabloids, if you remember. It had all the necessary ingredients for a press sensation, a celebrity, a private island cut off by the wind, and a murder. We found ourselves trapped there overnight, our old friendships concealed hatred and a desire for revenge. What followed was a game of cat and mouse, a battle of wits full of twists and turns, building to an unforgettable climax. The night ended in violence and death. But who am I? My name is Elliot Chase, and I'm going to tell you a story unlike you've ever heard. So, The Fury, thank you to Celadon Books for this. This is also coming out in January. Okay, and the last book of my very small selections is Christina Cooke's Boughtupsy, which I just read a great review for this in Kirkus Reviews. So let me read you a little bit about this. Also on sale in January 23rd. And thank you to Catapult for this. Tired of not having a place to land, 20-year-old Akua flies from Canada to her native Jamaica to reconnect with her estranged sister Tamika. Their younger brother Bryson has recently passed from sickle cell anemia, the same disease that took their mother 10 years prior, and Akua carries his remains in a small wooden box with the hopes of reassembling her family. Over the span of 2 fateful weeks, Akua and Tamika visit significant places from their childhood: the home they grew up in, their mother's grave, a favorite beach where Akua slowly spreads Bryson's ashes. But time spent with her sister only clarifies how different they are, and how years of living abroad have distanced Akua from her home culture. Am I Jamaican? She asks herself again and again, but beneath those haunting doubts lie her anger and resentment at being abandoned by her own blood. Why didn't you stay with me? She wants to ask Tamika. Wandering through Kingston with her brother's ashes in tow, Akua meets Jada, a brash stripper who shows her a different side of the city. As the two grow closer, Akua confronts the difficult reality of being gay in a deeply religious family and what being a gay woman in Jamaica actually means. Boughtupsy is a profoundly moving debut novel that asks, what do we truly owe our family, and what are we willing to do to savor the feeling of home? So, sounds interesting. We'll see. Okay, and then I just have a couple things that I'm thinking like, okay, first of all, got to be honest. I know, and this is coming out either the day of or the day after, but the sequel to Fourth Wing is out. I'm absolutely going to read it, and I will probably read it sooner than later because every freak who is like in on this book is going to start posting spoilers and talking about it, and I don't want any part of that, and I don't want anyone ruining it. So yes, I will probably be reading it right away. And yes, I ordered it, so I'm getting sprayed edges. And yes, I might have ordered more than one copy. Am I a freak? Okay, so the other books, The Wager, again, nonfiction November, A Tale of Shipwreck, Mutiny, and Murder. David Grann, who wrote this, also wrote Killers of the Flower Moon, which many of you have probably seen, is now at movie theaters, and it's about to be on Apple TV. Martin Scorsese. And Martin Scorsese has also already optioned this along with Leonardo DiCaprio. So this sounds fantastic, about a shipwreck. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is something I think I kind of try to maybe get into. I will tell you the crazy thing about this book, and I opened it last night, is there are no less than like 75, almost 80 pages of notes in the back of these things. So David Grann clearly does work. So, but I've heard this is fantastic. It's compelling. It pulls you right in. It's a courtroom thriller. It's all of the things. So excited about that potentially. Edith Holler by Edward Carey. I really like Edward Carey. And I will tell you, like, one of the blurbs in the back of this says, it's a delightfully macabre achievement, equal parts Charles Dickens and Sweeney Todd. Like, hello, that's all I need. But, so it's the strange and entrancing story of a young woman trapped in a ramshackle English playhouse and the mysterious figure who threatens its very survival. So excited about this. Think it's really cool. Love this crazy, creepy cover. Speaking of crazy and creepy, The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. This is a book that is based on the tragedy of the Dozier School for Boys. She takes that story and blends it with a ghost story. And I'm not going to lie, it's almost 600 pages, but it looks really good. And side note, thank you to Saga Press and Simon & Schuster for this. And the last thing is Marie NDiaye's Vengeance is Mine, which is translated from the French. Never read anything by her. Interestingly, Knopf sent me a copy of this, and so thank you for that. I love this cover. And then I read an interview with her in the New York Times. She's really interesting, lives in Paris. She's won the Prix Goncourt, which is their big literary prize over there. So we'll see. But I like a translated book. And again, love this cover. All right, so that's it. Kind of my potentials for November in a nutshell. We'll see what else I get to. I'm also going to try to cram some stuff into audio. Some of my 10 Before the End, which I know are on audio, and that really helps listening to the books to get through them. How about you? I'd love to hear what you possibly might want to read this month. You talked, I listened. I'm going to do an episode coming up on some nonfiction books for November that I've really liked, that I want to impress upon all of you. And then I will do, I had some today, but a larger episode that's just about books that are coming out in the new year, which I think look interesting. So since we're getting there. All right. I hope you're all well. I hope you're having a good week. And thanks for stopping by. And I will see you all soon.